30% of people's business problems are the fact that they hit the snooze button. A
Hey,
great business.
I've never heard that stat.
Oh,
I
oh, I'm
believe it. I believe
right.
it.
I'm telling you right now, the reason that it's not working is because the first decision you make every day, you say, I don't do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's gonna
That's
do a
just, that,
number on your
that,
own self-value and how
that's
you're
right.
following through with
That's
anything.
right. That's right. So, hey, that email came in. I'll do it later. On my email platform that I use, it's called Airmail. It has a snooze button. I can snooze an email till tomorrow. Stop doing that.
Welcome to the Millionaire Maker Show, a podcast helping entrepreneurs scale their businesses online to create more time, more money, more freedom, and more impact. Now, with over 20 years of business building, coaching, and consulting experience, here's your host, author, speaker, and creator of the Millionaire Maker Funnel, Lindsey Anderson.
Welcome to the Millionaire Maker Show podcast. I am your host, Lindsey Anderson, and I have a very special guest episode coming up hot at you today. I'll be interviewing one of my very successful VIP clients, Mr. Rocky Garza. Now, if you haven't had an opportunity to hear from Rocky, you are in for such a treat. He really is so inspirational and motivational and has changed the lives of so many people with his get what you want method. And that's exactly what he's going to be sharing with us on today's podcast. You do not want to miss it. But before I hop into that, I want to make sure that you know that right now, applications to get on a Millionaire Maker Breakthrough Strategy session are now open with me. If you have listened to the podcast or you've watched me on social media and what I am saying about how to handle social media, how to get customers in the right way, if you like the idea of having a step-by-step way of knowing what to do in your business every single day to be able to achieve that next goal and to have crystal clear clarity around where you are going in your business, how you're going to get unstuck, and what those daily actions are that you need to be taking every day in order to actually grow your business. Right now, applications are open to get on a Millionaire Maker Blueprint Strategy session with me. Now, not everyone qualifies for this call with me. This call is complimentary. And if you qualify, we will spend 50 minutes together. I will ask you a series of questions, and the outcome of this call will be what your next best steps are and how you're actually going to get there to build your $1,000,000 business. So in order to get in on that session, all you need to do is head over to lindsaya.com/coaching, hit apply for this Millionaire Maker Breakthrough Strategy session, and we will be reaching out to you with your next step. So excited to speak with you on that very powerful session. Now let's talk a little bit about getting what you want and the mindset piece behind building a $1,000,000 business. A good 30% of what is going to take to get there really has to do with mindset. And mindset isn't something that you're just going to go power through and open up your brain and just stuff it in. The real mindset work around building a $1,000,000 business has to do with your foundational beliefs. Some people call them limiting beliefs. And these are the beliefs that have been programmed into you since you were a child. So, how your mom and dad handled money, you picked up ideas about how to handle money, ideas around what money was. They taught you from their perspective how to handle money, how to handle work, how to be a business owner. All of these were taught to you between the ages of 6 and 12. And then you continued to basically live this out in your life. And if you haven't ever really studied your limiting beliefs or have done any belief work, it's a really powerful way to look at what you really believe. And as we change what we believe inside about ourselves, our business becomes a reflection of that. So I see it time and time again. I've seen it in my business. I see it in the businesses of those that I consult with. Your business is a mirror. If your clients are not paying you enough, if your clients are running over you and taking up all of your time, if your business is taking more than it's giving, this is very simply traced back to a limiting belief where you believe that that is what is necessary in order to get what you want. when you get back to the core of those limiting beliefs and you really start to look at them and ask, well, why do I think that about money? Why do I think that in order to build $1 million business, I have to work 10 days a week and 24 hours a day? And that's probably because that is what your parents taught you, or that is what your caregivers taught you. And so that's your assumption. That's what you think. And that is your only experience. And so it can be very powerful instead of just doing mindset work around motivating yourself and cheerleading yourself, but to really deep dive, look at these inner thoughts, look at what you really think, and then ask yourself, does this serve me? Does this thought or this belief about where I'm going serve me? Is it true? And is it something that I can actually work on changing? And that's the real power of what Rocky's going to be talking to us about on the podcast today. His Get What You Want method will really allow you to drill down to your inner core to see what you believe, set those beliefs so that it will serve you and your values, allowing you to really get what you want, both in life and in business. So, I'm very excited for this awesome episode of the podcast. I'm sure you will enjoy it as much as I do. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Millionaire Maker Show. I am so excited for today's episode because I have a very special guest on today. My client, Rocky Garza, is going to come on the episode today. And really, I love working with Rocky for several reasons. But first of all, he coaches the leaders of all leaders. He really works for some of the biggest companies coaching their leaders. And he also has a coaching program where he helps other individuals really get out of their own way and get what they want. It is a true honor and a pleasure to bring Rocky on the show today. Welcome to the show, Rocky.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Lindsey. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah. So, Rocky, a little bit about how you found yourself in this situation doing what you do.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a kind of person, I always say on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 is nothing, 10 is perfect. I love starting with people at stage -3. Okay. So I'm going to take you to -3 for me, and then we'll get back to where we are real quick. I, I experienced early on in my life, and I go to my birth on purpose, because I think I'm a firm believer of whatever happens to us between the ages of 6 and 12, specifically in that time frame that we do to survive. And when I say survive, I don't necessarily mean life or death, unless that's your story. But the things we experience in that time frame are typically really key indicators of how we operate as an adult. To me, and that time frame is where the nature and nurture really have a collision in that 6-year period of our life, and we form truths. Because if any of you have children in that time frame of 6 to 12, our kids are testing everything they think they've been taught about what is real and true about the world, and we bump those two things up against each other. And so I think I found myself in my position. I'll be 41 this year. I found myself doing this for about the last decade or so, because I spent the first 2 decades of my life trying to fit in, trying to belong, and trying to find some method or system that allowed me to feel like there was a place for me in the world where I could bring who I was. It was valued, it was worthy, there was meaning and passion and purpose behind who I was as a person, that wasn't solely predicated on my ability to perform and get someone to like me, or I would use my words, to get someone to love me. My parents got divorced when I was young. I went to 13 schools before I graduated high school. I lived with my grandparents a lot growing up. I don't have any siblings. My mom's been married and divorced 5 times. Like my life was, I had everything I needed. I had plenty of food. My grandma took me shopping at Dillard's and Ross. Like I had the right, like all the little things you're supposed to have as a kid, I had. But I learned very early on, if I couldn't perform, if I couldn't outthink you, outtalk you, outwit you, outschmooze you to get you to like me, then maybe you were going to leave like everybody else. And so I tell you all that not as a sad story or not as a woe is me. I'm fine. I've been to a lot of therapy. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. However, I say all that because I do believe that's a huge part of how I ended up where I am now, is that I have this deep innate passion. I was at an event a couple weeks ago and somebody said, "Hey, are you going back after the event tonight? Are you going back to your hotel room? Aren't you ready to just turn it off?" I said, "I'd hate to break it to you, but I don't have anything turned on." And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm not turned on right now. This is just who I am. There's not a switch. I'm not going to go to my hotel room to turn it off so I can decompress. This is just me." But it's just me because I've spent the last 40 years exploring who I am, who other people are, how we fit in the world together, and what does it mean to be able to show up unapologetically as yourself and trust that there's inherent value to that, and that my worth and value is not built on whether or not you like or love me, that if I don't like or love me, there's no reason anybody else is going to do that either. And so I've been a summer camp director, I've been a counselor, I've been a pastor to church, I've had a lot of different jobs. However, how I did all of those was very similarly. I feel like now I'm just doing it in a lane that I really believe in.
Okay, so let me summarize this and tell me if I've got you right here, which is we go back to Rocky's childhood because what happened to you between 6 and 12 where you were really trying to get people to really like you because your parents were divorced and you were on your own, then that went into adulthood and you saw this pattern continue, but because you recognized the pattern, then you were really able to get out of that pattern and succeed.
100%. And recognizing that pattern in me and then having the ability to consistently reflect that back to somebody else and go, hey, I have a question for you. Do you feel like you do what you want, or do you feel like you do what you think people want you to be doing and you're hoping that's going to make you happy, but you're consistently unhappy? Oh, the second one. Interesting. I wonder why that is. And exploring that again over and over.
What would you say are the percentages of what we do in the day would be because someone else expects that of us, and that's not really what we wanna be doing?
85% of people, 85% of what the average person does in a day is predicated on what they think they're supposed to be doing, not what they want to be doing.
Yeah, that's some pretty powerful information there, Rocky. Let me ask you this, was there a specific point in your history where you basically hit rock bottom and you're like, "Yeah, this has to change now"? Had you been in those patterns and you're like, "No, like, I have to start living as me." Was there something there that actually kicked that off?
Yeah, I graduated college. That was all the way from early childhood through college was the Rocky the Showman, as I would say. Man, I was really good with words. I was really good at telling you what you needed. I think for Rocky, the language that I would use that I think most people find valuable is I was very good at disclosure, but I had no understanding of vulnerability. And for the first 25 years of my life, I was a master of disclosure. I could give you the story that I gave the person before you so eloquently, so meaningful with the tone and the pause and the slight feeling of emotion, and you felt so connected to me. But I was telling you the exact same thing I was telling every person that I was going to meet before you and every person I was going to meet after you. And I was actually not giving you any aspect of who I was. I was just disclosing information over and over again. And it really came to a head in my life. I was working in a full time ministry job out of college. I met a girl. We got engaged. It was like Rocky's first relationship where Rocky wasn't an idiot. And I was like trying to do it what I would consider at the time like the right way. And come to find out, she was living a double life. We were at a long distance. She was sleeping with someone else. She had this whole other thing going on. And she called me one night and said, my mom told me that if I didn't tell you that I was sleeping with someone, then she wasn't going to put a deposit down on our venue. And I remember we had a conversation for about 6 minutes and I said, okay. And then she asked a couple of questions and a couple of answers. And I said, okay, you tell your mom I said, thank you. And don't ever call me again. And that was it. I've never haven't talked to her since that phone call on a Sunday at 11:15 at night. But something then occurred where I feel like the next, call it 5 to 7 years, was I met my wife. I met my wife in that time. Spent about 3 to 5 years in therapy together slash individually, but really
Were you
was
destroyed by her, by the way? Like, how like, you did not want that to happen, right?
I did not want that to happen, but one of Rocky's muscles that he grew that he has to be very cautious not to flex unnecessarily is that I am accustomed to you leaving and I am accustomed to figuring it out by myself. So was I surprised? No. Was I caught off guard? Yes. Was I embarrassed? Yes. Did I feel betrayed? Yes. And was I going to make it either way? Yes. And so I think for me, it is both a gift that I have to go, you know what? And you and I have spoken about this a little bit. I had a very similar situation, not relationally in my personal life, but in a professional setting 6 months ago, as it sparked our relationship together as well, that the same thing happened. Was I surprised? Honestly, no. Was it, was I betrayed? Yes. Did I expect it? Kind of. Am I going to be okay? Yes. So I think for a lot of us, I use both of those examples because I think most, if not every individual I've met, you'll come to learn I love alliteration a lot, sometimes unnecessarily. But I think most of us, we have the capacity to take our past and our pain and use it as a mechanism to protect ourselves, or we can take our past and our pain and use it as a mechanism to propel ourselves into something we are deeply passionate about. And I think every individual has that capacity. If we are willing to do the work to admit what it is that we really want and find what is that pain or that past, that we're using to protect ourselves to keep all the bad out, as opposed to leveraging it to find ways to let all the good in.
I love that, Rocky. I love that. I think that parlays nicely into talking about the get what you want method. I believe that the first step is you actually have to admit and know what you want. But I'll leave it to you. Tell us about this method and why it is called that.
Yeah. So the get what you want method is predicated on this idea that I believe most individuals have an idea about what it is that we want. We have just been fearful to both identify and admit it. We see things on social media. I see this person and they have this car, they have this house, they have this perceived life, they have fill in the gap of whatever it is we think everybody else has that we don't. And then we say to ourselves, they seem to be satisfied. So I think I want that. Really, what we're saying is, I wish to be satisfied. Let's go further. I wish to find freedom. Go further. I wish to find peace. Okay. So I've never met a person in my life that just opted to say peace and no, thank you. I'll take chaos instead. I've never met anybody who said that's what they actually want. So if we could whittle it down to the very root of it, for every human being, that's going to be different. But what do you want that brings you peace? And if you can admit and be willing to get to a place to define what it is you actually want, not what you think you want, not what you should want, not what social says you want, what you actually want, and we can begin to identify what that is, the get what you want method is a process to arrive at that place. I believe that starts with understanding who you are as a person. What impedes us from admitting what we want is we lack the ability to communicate who we are. We have a process called identity mapping. It's our signature method we take individuals through. And identity mapping gives you a language for who you are as a human being. I believe everyone knows who they are. We simply lack the language to describe it in a way that's understandable. Therefore, we always feel misunderstood. However, I
Can you give
don't
me an
think,
example?
yeah, 100%. I have a passion that I want to, this is what I want my marriage to look like. This is the kind of father I want to be. This is the kind of person I want to be with my friends. Okay, tell me about that. I just know that I don't want to be this and this. I asked you what you wanted and you told me the 6 things you didn't want. That's not what I asked you. I asked you, what kind of father do you want to be? I don't want to be like my dad. You're not answering the question for me. Let me back up. How would you describe yourself as a father? I know that I don't want my
Wow.
kids to, okay, again, so intrinsically we feel something. We all have a day where we're faced with a decision we're going to make. Do I buy this or do I not? Do I call them or do I not? I really want to fall with my grandma because I missed her. I give you a better story. My brother-in-law and my father-in-law talk to each other on the phone every single day. Every single day they talk to each other on the phone. Okay. I don't talk to my dad every day on the phone. However, I, for a long time, was so jealous that my brother-in-law would get off work and he had a 16-minute drive home. And as soon as he got in the car, he would call his father. Him and his father would talk. And when he got home in the driveway, he would hang up, and they did it every day. And they know what's going on. They're checking in on each other. They're texting. And I thought to myself, he's so lucky. Like, he's so lucky that he gets to talk to his dad every day. And I started thinking to myself, I really want to talk to my dad. But you know what? He just doesn't call me. And then another month
Mm.
went by and I said, I really want to talk to my dad. I really wish I could talk to my dad, but he just doesn't call me every day. And I'm going to be honest with you. It probably took me, I don't know, 9 months or a year of consistently saying, I really want to talk to my dad, but he just doesn't call me, before I could really find the words to describe what I actually wanted.
Which was?
I want to call my father so that I can speak to him. And every time I call my father, he answers. Why am I not calling my father?
Wow.
I had built what I wanted, which was to talk to my father. But the only words I had to describe it were, I wish my dad would call me. But I didn't actually want my dad to call me. I wanted my dad to answer when I called. But because my only view of that was what I saw in somebody else, and I wished I had what they wanted, all I could think about was the fact that my dad wasn't doing what I thought my father-in-law was doing. When I was able to invert it and give myself a language to go, wait, what, Rocky, what do you want? Just want to talk to my dad. How can you do that? You can do that by picking up the phone. And when you call your dad, does he answer? Almost every single time. Interesting. So it took me 18 months to find the words, I wish I called my dad, as opposed to saying, I wish my dad would talk to me more. I didn't know what I wanted because I didn't have the right words, because it was based on what I thought should be happening, because dads are supposed to call sons. Sons aren't supposed to call dads.
So this all goes back to all of the beliefs also that you have been happened between 6 and 12 as well.
Which goes back into our second portion of the get what you want method that we call the imposter within.
Okay.
That's the ability to unpack the two narratives that are at play in our lives all the time. The stories
Okay.
told to us through words and actions, things like, Lindsey, you're too much. Lindsey, calm down. Lindsey, you're overwhelming. Lindsey, you're so this, SO. You're to this, TOO. Sometimes it's through actions and not through words. It was communicated to me early on in my life. My mom told me with actions, not words, men and jobs were more important than I was because she always chose that over me. By the way, side note, love my mom. She's awesome. Not saying she's a bad person. That doesn't mean she didn't communicate things to me the way she acted over the course of my life, though.
Yeah,
Too narrative.
that's an important difference. Yeah.
That's right. So stories told to me about me. Rocky, you're too intense. Stories I tell myself about myself. By the way, nobody talks to you more than you talk to you.
Highly applicable for business owners. Like we're always telling ourselves that we need to be better and doing better. And these are all the things you need to be doing.
And here's the framework. Here's the beautiful part about the imposter within. I'm going to give the framework for how it relates to us as an individual, but you take the exact same framework and lay it on top of your business. It's called branding. It's called marketing. It's called messaging. And it's called why you're saying the wrong thing, right? Stories told to you about you. That's what your brand represents. Stories you're telling yourself about yourself. That's the marketing you're putting out into the world. Where those two stories collide, there's either a truth or there's a lie. Whatever the result of that story is, that's typically where your sales are going to follow. It's the same thing for us as an individual. Stories told to you about you. Rocky, you're too intense. Stories you tell yourself. Rocky says, look at their face. Calm down. Why are you asking so many questions? Why do you talk so fast? I call it a lowercase t truth, not an actual truth, but something I believe to be true. Rocky, calm down or they're not going to like you and this is not going to work. And
Okay.
in all of a sudden, we have fear, doubt, obstacle, insecurity. All of these things are built upon the collision. We say collision on purpose. The collision of these two stories create an impact. Typically, the impact is fear, doubt, obstacle, or insecurity, and it's preventing us from living the life that we actually want because we have an imposter's voice that says, you're not who you say that you are. Because don't you remember your whole life you've been told you're too emotional, Rocky. You can't be a real man. Hey, don't you remember what they told you? They told you, hey, Lindsey, listen, take a step back, okay? I don't know who you think you are, but you're a woman, so I need you to calm down a little bit. You're not as cool as you think that you are. All these
Mhm.
things are told. So the imposter within, to your point, okay, we know what we want, but what keeps us? We have this belief. I'm a small business owner. I'm a business owner. I've had a business for a decade. Those of you that are listening, you have a business and you're thinking it's never going to work. You know why it's never going to work? Because you're the only person who's talking to yourself and you tell yourself every day, it's not going to work because I've been told my whole life, I'm too kind, I'm too nice, I'm too much, I'm too little, I'm not enough. And all of those narratives are driving the way that you act because your energy follows your focus follows your thoughts. And if daily you are thinking you are not enough, guess what? You're never going to do enough
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy all day long. All day
all day
long.
long,
Okay, so
all day long.
we gotta know who we are, our definitions of ourselves. We've gotta know our imposter within.
That's right.
Okay,
And
what's
the
that?
third thing is we have to be able to say, then what the hell am I going to do starting tomorrow to make all of this different? I know who I am,
Okay.
got a clear picture. I got an idea of what I believe about myself. I'm feeling good. How do I begin? We call it the 365 formula. And for us, the 365 formula is very easy. I want you to just begin. Just got off a coaching call just now. I want you to begin with three things that you're going to commit to doing 6 days a week within the first 5 minutes of waking up.
Okay.
That's your step one. Don't tell me that you're going to increase revenue by 40%. Don't tell me that you're going to post on no, you're not. You haven't posted on social in 6 months. You're not going to post on 3 platforms 6 days a week starting tomorrow. That's
I
ridiculous.
can't get a lot done
Here's
in 5 minutes, Rocky.
here,
What kind of things are you looking
that's
for?
right. That's exactly right. So here's as an example, the client I just got off a call with. She's going to wake up and she's going to do she has what she calls her 5 stretches. So she showed me, it was like side to side. Okay. She's going to get in front of a mirror and she's going to communicate her affirmations to herself. And she's going to walk into the kitchen and drink 1 glass of water. We're
Love
looking
it.
for quantity over or quality over quantity, short, fast, simple wins that you can do that require your feet to be on the floor. It is imperative. And these 3 things, you get out of bed when you say you're going to.
Okay.
30% of people's business problems are the fact that they hit the snooze button. A
Hey,
great business.
I've never heard that stat.
Oh,
I
oh, I'm
believe it. I believe
right.
it.
I'm telling you right now, the reason that it's not working is because the first decision you make every day, you say, I don't do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's gonna
That's
do
just,
a number on your
that,
own self-value and how
that's
you're
right.
following through with
That's
anything.
right. That's right. So, hey, that email came in. I'll do it later. On my email platform that I use, it's called Airmail. It has a snooze button. I can snooze an email till tomorrow. Stop doing that.
You wanna stop
Just
doing that.
answer anyway. So, 3
3.
things you choose. You do them 6 days a week, and 6 days a week is important for us. The reason we say 6 days a week is because we believe that in our humanity as a person, that we live in the continue. It's the third component of the 365 formula is to live in the continue. And here's what I mean by that. We all have goals, desires, and dreams. but we say what we don't mean and then we do what we don't say. Here's what I'm talking about. I'm committed this year to walk 10,000 steps a day. That's my goal. I'm going to do walk 10,000 steps a day every day for 365. My goal though is I want to attempt to walk 10,000 steps daily. Now, it's really important. Those of you listening, catch the difference of my two things I'm going to say here because this is what's stopping you right now in your life. I said I want to do my best to walk 10,000 steps a day, which means the parameters for my objective are within a 24-hour window. I did not say I am going to walk 10,000 steps a day every day without fail, nonstop, consistently for 365 days straight. That is a valuable goal. However, that is not my goal. My goal
Okay.
is to attempt to walk 10,000 steps a day. The reason I parse that out so specifically is because when I go to bed tonight, regardless of what I actually did today, guess what happens tomorrow? My step counter goes to 0 and it works its way back up to 10,000 before I go to sleep again. And
Right.
I want to be able to live presently in the continue. So we say do 3 things 6 days a week, not 7, because you're a human being and there's going to be a day that your kid gets sick. They woke up at midnight and they puked all over the floor. You only got 2 hours of sleep and you didn't get up and do your 365 on that Wednesday because life happens. And guess what? Keep living your life. Live in the continue. But so many of us do something for 3 days, we miss day 4 and we go, got to start over. I got to
Yeah.
reset. I missed today. And so I'm back to 0. Nothing in your life is back to 0. If you did it yesterday and you woke up today, you just continue. And I'm telling
I
you
love
that from somebody who 6 months ago, my entire world imploded. Everything went away. Everything that I had, everything that I built, everything that I had, it absolutely went to 0 on a number scale. And I had a decision to make. I'm going to have to freak out, start over, or I'm going to take the last 39 years of everything that I've done. And today I'm going to wake up and I'm going to continue. And I'm going to take all of that with me and say, what am I going to do with it now? Because it didn't magically disappear. 39 years of experience, 39 years of depth, 39 years of opportunity, 39 years of relationships. No one individual has the capacity to ruin that for me. So, of all the things that were gone, guess what's not gone? Today. So how do I continue in today? So the 6 and the 3 is a really strong component for us to live in the continue. Take a deep breath, look in the mirror, chalk it up as a loss, go to bed, wake up tomorrow, and let's do it again. And the 5 is within the first 5 minutes of waking up because we deeply believe in living a proactive versus a reactive life. And if you can commit to doing 3 things 6 days a week within the first 5 minutes of waking up, you might just be the kind of person who can also have a successful business.
Dang, I really like the way that you put that. And I've seen this too is like when people are launching, I know that you do launches, when they're launching or they do new programs or they make sales calls, you really got to view this more as an infinite game. Like you don't win and lose based on how your last launch went because it is
Yep.
all infinite and it's a long game. And I think that's very similar to living in the continue, which I actually really like the way that you put that.
Yeah, and I think pick a category of your life. The reality is that almost everything that we do from the moment we're born until the moment we die is an infinite game.
Yeah.
I understand that there will come a day that it's over, but guess what, friend? When it's over, it doesn't have anything to do with you anyway. So
Yeah. I'd still
might as
argue you're
well
in an infinite game.
feels so at that point. I think there's the famous phrase that goes around there, like we underestimate what we can do in a year and we overestimate what we can do in a day. I at the macro level with that statement, I'm fully on board. I agree. I think most of us underestimate what we can do in a day because we spend all day today either wishing we did something different yesterday or dreaming about what we think we're going to do tomorrow. It's not that you don't have the capacity to do it. It's that you've lost your ability to live presently right now with a clear understanding of who you are, a deep conviction about what makes you good and valuable, and a clear plan of action of how you're going to attack your day. That's the reason you're not getting what it is that you want, is because you live all of your energy expended going, man, I wish I didn't, or going, man, I really wish I could. And we don't spend enough energy going, yeah, but what am I actually going to do right now?
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. I love like the yesterday and the tomorrow. So you're not doing anything right now. You mentioned one thing that people really get stuck with is that, hey, if I didn't do it today, then I'm starting at 0. So I may as well give up now. Can you share another obstacle with us that you see people making that you can help us overcome when it comes to implementing good habits and taking action?
Yep. We mentioned before, I like to start at -3. I think start with, you can go to rockygarza.com/values. It's a free exercise that exists for you to go to. Start with giving yourself a very easy language for why you do what you do. What we talk about core values is they're the reason, intention, and motivation behind everything that you choose. So without having that as a basis for that language, without having some rhyme or reason, I want to do 10,000 steps. Why? I want to make $1 million. Why? We ask ourselves the question all the time. We typically don't have a response for that, except that we want to keep the bad things away. That's typically our response, right? Most of us live with our life with both of our hands in front of us, trying to keep all the bad out. We never posture or position ourselves to allow the good things in. It's the same way with boundaries. Everybody views boundaries. So we got to have boundaries to keep all the bad out. No, you have boundaries to keep the things you love most in. That's why you have boundaries. If people
Yeah.
can't get through that boundary, that's because they've made a decision on their own that they don't deserve the good that you have on the inside. And they need to do something different in order to come through that boundary, not me change my boundary. But let's go back to values. Values set the precedent, however, for a reason why that exists. Rocky Garza, my personal values: vulnerability, generosity, experience, intimacy, trust. Those are the 5 things I value most as a human being. If my goals personally, professionally, relationally, as a husband, as a father, as a friend, don't align with those 5 things, I do not need to be doing it. I don't care how sexy it is. I don't care how awesome it is. I don't care how great it is. It's the reason why I personally struggle with having a podcast that's just me, because Rocky talking to himself doesn't align with my values. I can
Mhm.
only be so vulnerable with me, I can only create an experience with me so much. I can only generate trust me with me so much. It's literally like it's the antithesis to everything I'm about is listen to me talk about me some more. It's
Mhm.
our number one keynote we do says, I lead every keynote by saying, if you walk away today knowing more about me than you know about you, then I failed you, because that's a part of who I am. But I only have that language about who I am because I understand what my values are. So if you're at a roadblock right now and you're thinking, I have this idea and I want to do this in my marriage and my friends and with my family, but I just don't know why it's not working. If you find yourself asking that question, I don't know why it's not working. It's because you don't have a language to describe why you want it to work. Start with your core values, select 5, write a definition for each one. I don't want to care what Webster thinks. I want to know what you think. What is your
Mhm.
definition for each of those words? And then give yourself a basis. It becomes a foundation and a filter for every decision you make. What are you building on? And what are you going to run your decision making through? Give yourself a language to do that, and you will be wildly impressed with your capacity to begin to make decisions that align very specifically with who you are as a human being.
I love that, and I found that to be true as well, and that as long as you're in line with your values, then it makes those things easier, and you're more successful at them. Okay, tell me a little bit, so identity mapping, getting to know ourselves, understanding this language about who we are. Tell me what you think the future of that is. Do you see more people doing that? What's on the horizon for that kind of thinking?
Yeah, I think I equate it to very similar. So I spend about 50% of my time coaching, 50% of my time speaking. So I equate that, what I see on the individual one-on-one basis when we work with our VIP clients in identity mapping. And we've taken tens of thousands of folks through it over the last decade or so. I equate it to what I see in the speaking world. And that's that the big conference with 30 speakers and everybody has 30 minutes to tell you why whatever their idea is the greatest or why their success story you should do too. I think that world is dying. And as somebody who's
Mhm.
been in the event business for a long time, I see the hero on stage telling you why their story is so impactful that you could be just like them. I think is dying. Number one, because I can get that on YouTube for free. So why would I pay
Mhm.
to go see you talk when you're going to do the same thing that you do on YouTube? I could just go watch you on YouTube for free. So what's the point?
Okay.
I think secondarily, I think culturally, we are moving in a direction where we are looking for human to human kind of experience to remind us about what actually matters. And so when I think about identity mapping, I think the future is bright, because I think the opportunity for us to create environments, whether it's events we host, events we are partnered or we partner with, and or the individual doing self-exploration to come back to a reason to show up again. We've had so many things in the last decade, from the pandemic to the way the workforce changes to the way the economy is to our presidential scenario. On either side where you are, that's not the part of the conversation. But there's so many things in the last decade that have caused individuals, I think, to come back and be reflective again, that I think there's a lot of folks looking and longing for some kind of method or system to remind them about who they are. And that gives us the ability to go back and create the kind of life home that we actually want, because I think we're all exhausted from watching all the things we're supposed to be doing and pursuing something we don't, but we lack a language to get there. And so what I see in the speaker space, I see very much in the self-development space, in the personal development space, in the coaching space. I see all of those things collectively working to see how those go together.
Wow, that's really insightful. Very insightful. I agree. There's only so much. I think it goes back to the previous conversation of ours where it's we keep doing stuff for other people because of what we're supposed to do. We're realizing that's not getting us anywhere. We're not happy. So what will make me happy today? That's what I'm going to do and plan for a life that I can actually achieve that matters to me. Back to the values. So you got to go to Rocky's website and download his free resource so you can start using this terminology. And I think just
Mm.
for me, if you've never done an exercise like that, you just asking the questions, really, because you end up thinking about it and your subconscious will be to work at it. Like, even asking yourself those questions are so powerful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think the way that I would encourage folks as we wrap up, here's what I would encourage you to think about. Are you utilizing what you have in your life and the things that you've experienced, your personal expertise? Are you using that as a badge of honor to show everybody why you're so amazing? Or are you using that as bricks in the foundation for what you're building next? And I
I
think
love
there's a really important note for us to be able to recognize. I spent a lot of my life wearing badges because I thought it would make me important. I've spent the last decade building bricks to build a foundation for something so that even when things don't go the way that I want, I still get the opportunity to stand on that same path that I built and continue to live my life in the continue.
I love it. I love it. Rocky, before I let you go, I'm going to turn the time over to you. Let us know anything you want us to know and tell us again how to find that valuable resource.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to rockygarza.com. There's not a lot of bald guys with big eyebrows like me out there named Rocky, so I'm pretty easy to find on most platforms. Everything is just at Rocky Garza. That free resource for you is rockygarza.com/values. And if you're listening, we'll probably put this in the show notes for you. You can send me a text message to the phone number 469-649-8441, and you can join our community. We've got a little over 1,000 folks in our daily rock community. I send a text message 7 days a week. It's a challenge, encourage you, not trying to sell you or pitch anything. I want your life to be better, but I don't believe you can do it by yourself. And we'd love to be the first step and the advocate to help get you there.
I love it, Rocky. Thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
So there you have it. Another powerful episode here on the Millionaire Maker Show, sharing with you the real truth behind what it takes to build $1 million business and how you can absolutely have that too. If you slow down to speed up, you take our advice, you stop looking for the easy way around building your business. You work on yourself on the inside. You adopt the strategies and methodologies that I've shared with you on this show, and $1 million business is yours. Don't forget, applications are open to work with me. All you need to do is head over to lindsaya.com/coaching. Fill out that application if you're a good fit for the Millionaire Maker Breakthrough Strategy Session. We will get you over a calendar for that. If not, we will tell you those next best steps in the essence of time. I know you're busy. I am busy. We have a way to give you the next steps regardless of where you are in your online business. If you like the podcast, please make sure to leave us a review. That is how we continue to produce episodes each and every week. Go to your favorite streaming platform and please leave us a review. Until next time, I am your host, Lindsey Anderson. Cheers to you and your success.
Thank you for listening to the Millionaire Maker Show with master business coach and creator of the Millionaire Maker Coaching Funnel, Lindsey Anderson. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time.